QinetiQ has secured the ATS-3 contract from the U.S. Army, marking its debut as a prime contractor in the U.S. with an IDIQ contract worth up to $95 million. The contract itself will have QinetiQ providing a suite of aerial systems, including the advanced MQM-185B, also known as the Banshee Jet 80 Plus, for global training and testing exercises. There's a good photo of it right there. This win is solidifying QinetiQ's reputation for developing adaptable, high-performing aerial targets with a mission success rate of 97% over the past 5 years, which feels extremely high. QinetiQ's global expertise in engineering, robotics, advanced payload integration is going to be pivotal here, enhancing the target system performance and replicating evolving threats.
If it's a targeting system, what's the definition of success? Missed it or got it? I wonder.
I think operating like the things you want to practice targeting,
Okay.
like being a realistic version of, testing your weapons against it. It's got to be something that matches what you're actually going to be shooting if you have to shoot. So, but one thing that Greg mentioned here was this was an IDIQ contract. That's an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract. It could be worth up to 95 million, but right now you're not really sure, how many you're going to make. So how do you plan for it? It's hard to plan when you don't know how many, you don't know when they're due, but you just have to figure that this is going to be defined later. And this is the first time QinetiQ has entered the U.S. market as a prime contractor for highly sophisticated aerial targeting systems. So they're now going to be competing for task orders, meaning they're going to be competing with others to try to win all these task orders for the ability to simulate the threats for the Army's training. So QinetiQ is not only that, but they're going to have to deliver the operational support. We're going to have for all of these targets as they're provided, probably training and how to use them, all of this kind of stuff. There's so many issues we could talk about, but my number one challenge is going to be, how do I keep my cost low enough to compete with the other providers while making products at scale and speed when I don't even know how many of them I'm going to have to make?
I don't know if cost is your biggest issue here. I think, they're coming into a ever increasingly competitive space, and when we're dealing with one of their competitors actually at the moment. We're about to kick off and get manufacturing done, and the biggest thing here is plan for the worst, which is scalability. Plan for scalability. So yeah, cost control is important because you've got to win the bid. I get it, but when you're handling IDIQ contracts, the real curveball is suddenly you've got to move at scale. You've got to be fast enough to meet any task order volume that might come your way. So you've got to be ready for scale. That's the number one, Brian.
I agree. You've got to be ready for scale. You've got to, and it's the challenge though, is you don't know. IDIQ, you just don't know when and how many. And so it's like, I don't know. It's like you have a taco stand, and you don't know how many you got to plan for. What's your crowd going to be? How's it going to happen when I need to put all these tacos out at lunchtime? Or maybe I don't have enough when people show up. Like, how do you plan for what's going to happen here?
Yeah, keeping low cost is great. I agree. But what happens when that army suddenly orders 500 aerial targets overnight? We're not just talking about making them affordable. We need to be able to literally churn these things out like they're coming off a conveyor belt. Otherwise, you went with tacos. I'm going to go with burgers. I think it's like having a burger stand with no burgers when the crowd shows up. You've got to be able to churn it out at scale.
And with that, you've got to be able to probably have your supplies figured out so you can acquire them fast to start turning your order over immediately with your 500. You've got to
material planning and inventory management's got to be spot on. Yeah. And that would probably be our first solution, wouldn't it? It's making sure they've got material planning, inventory management lined up, not just from an MRP perspective, but from an operational line perspective. And that approach is going to make sure that the right materials, the inventory levels are ready to go at scale based upon the demand. It's all about meeting that unpredictable volume that an IDIQ can come in with without sacrificing the speed or without sacrificing your quality. A good way to really help that intelligence is going to be demand forecasting with AI predictive analytics as well. You bring that in, it's going to be able to give you that real intelligence without having to rely on kind of collaborative, integrated, humanized environments. Bringing your AI in, it's going to give you that real predictability.
Of kind of like maybe based off the history when it thinks spikes might happen in orders, when so you can kind of prepare a little bit for what you are predicting is going to happen.
Exactly.